Good morning, Unity. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever heard of the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar? Yes. That was one of my favorite books, and I have three kids, and we used to read that book to our kids when they were little. They were about this age. I don't know how old that is, about that age. I remember very clearly one time I was sitting crisscross on the floor in front of the TV, leaning up against the coffee table, watching a game, I'm sure. And I was sitting there so entrenched in it. My youngest, Ray, looked at me, walked into her bedroom, got the book, came back, and sit down. She didn't say anything. She just sat there. And I'm like, okay, it's story time. I turned off the TV and I started reading the book to her. Now, if you don't know the book, it's about a little caterpillar. It begins in a little egg, and the caterpillar pops out. And the first thing that the caterpillar does is start to eat because the caterpillar is very hungry. So on Monday, the caterpillar ate one giant apple. Now, as I'm sitting here on the ground reading this to Ray, when you get to that part of the book, it's in sections. The pages are in sections so that you see the five fruits that you're going to be eating. And the first one is an apple, and each fruit has a hole in it. That's where the caterpillar goes through. So on Monday, the caterpillar ate through one apple. On Tuesday, the very hungry caterpillar ate through two pears. On Wednesday, yes, that comes next. On Wednesday, the caterpillar ate through three plums. On Thursday, four strawberries. On Friday, five oranges. And on Saturday, the caterpillar went crazy. The caterpillar ate through a watermelon, an ice cream cone, sausage, what else did the Swiss cheese, a pickle. I mean, all of these things the caterpillar went through. And at the end of Saturday, guess what happened? The caterpillar had a stomach ache. That's a great lesson for our kids, by the way. Don't eat all of those things in one day. And the next morning, the caterpillar found a nice green leaf, ate through it, and was full. He was no longer hungry, and he was no longer little. He was a big caterpillar now. And so he made a cocoon around himself. And for 2 weeks, he stayed in the cocoon. And then after, he emerged as a beautiful butterfly to fly away. That's the end of the book. Now, normally at this time, I'll hear her say, again. But I won't read it to you again. I'm sorry. You'll have to wait till next time. This is a wonderful, wonderful metaphor for spiritual transformation. I didn't realize I was teaching spiritual transformation to my kid. I thought I was teaching counting and the days of the week and fruits and vegetables. Eat your fruits and vegetables. But this is a wonderful metaphor for spiritual transformation because like that, we're like that little caterpillar. And we come upon an apple, and you can imagine the fruit is like a spiritual principle or a spiritual practice. And so we'll taste a little bit of it, we'll eat a little bit of it, we'll grow a little bit. And then it's on to the next fruit, on to the next spiritual practice, yes? And as we go through this over and over again, we begin to go from it being an intellectual exercise to start to embody it. Those spiritual practices then become part of who we are. And when we start to embody it, we actually have a transformation. And then we can start back at the beginning. And a transformation, that experience of being something different. Now, in the case of the butterfly, what's very interesting is when the butterfly is actually in the cocoon, its body, the caterpillar is in the cocoon, its body turns into a protein soup. The whole thing dissolves into the soup. And what's left are these called imaginal discs. It's part of the DNA that knows what it's supposed to do. And it reimagines itself and uses that soup to create legs and a body and wings. All from soup. You didn't know soup was that interesting, did you? And in that transformation, in that literal transformation, that metamorphosis, it then becomes the butterfly and then escapes. And that's like us. When we get to that point of realization, that's that transformation that can happen within us. Now, it may happen in a moment's notice. It could happen in 2 weeks. For a lot of us, it happens a little bit over time. And all of a sudden, we get to some place where like, hey, I'm a different person. I'm no longer that same person that I was a year ago. And we can look back at our life and see the different steps that we took along the way to get to this stage of transformation. And the realization is, oh, I'm a different person. This transformation is important. And as Paul, the Apostle Paul said to the Romans in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Be not conformed to the things that are happening around us, the conflict, the confusion, the blaming, the shaming. Be not conformed to all of that, but be diligent in the renewing of your mind. Be dedicated to the renewing of your mind. And as you've moved through that process of renewal, the transformation occurs within us. And we're able to be in that situation and be the peaceful energy and expression of the divine in that moment. Transformation is that process of us turning into the butterfly, a beautiful person, a beautiful self, more peaceful, more harmonious, more spiritually strong. That transformation is a cycle of spiritual growth. All spiritual growth goes in this cycle. First, there's an inward movement where we move within and we look for all of the things that are important to us. We look at these spiritual practices and these teachings and we start to apply them to ourselves. We start to live those spiritual practices as we move through life with ease and grace. And as we move within, the second phase of spiritual growth happens, and that's the outer expression of it. We transform ourselves first in mind, and then we express that into the world. We transform ourselves first within, and then we are that expression out into the world. That's who we are, and that's who we have come here to be that transformative experience. Spiritual growth happens within us as we make this conscious decision. It's not always easy, is it? There are sometimes challenges. There are times when we get to that one big apple and say, I'm full, I'm done, I'm here, this is it. I don't want to go any further. There are times when we get to that apple and say, no, this is my apple, all you stay away. This is my apple. And we start to hoard ourselves, and we start to think in terms of lack and limitation. We start to think in terms of this is the only fruit that there could be. We may think this is the only way to go. This apple, forget about all the other fruit. It's this apple and no other apple. Oh, and by the way, it's a Granny Smith apple. So all y'all out there on those golden deliciouses and those galas and whatever those delicious apples are, those are the wrong apples. It's only a Granny Smith. Anybody experience that in life? Where we experience that attitude within other people, it's easy to see. Do you know that that's the attitude within you sometimes? And that's where our spiritual growth comes into play. Sometimes we're sitting on that apple and we're like, no, I'm comfortable. There's no way I'm going to the next fruit. I'm not going to the grape of gratitude. No, I'm not going to the fig of forgiveness. Forget about that. Let alone the nectarine of non-resistance. That's right out. Not doing that at all. So we get stuck. We get stuck in that idea. The interesting thing about the butterfly is that as it grows older, as we see in the monarch butterfly, they start to come together. And I don't know if you've experienced the monarch butterflies migrating. The Pacific Grove Natural Preserve there. And you can go there and you can see thousands of monarch butterflies between October and February. They all migrate together. And they come together. In the daytime when it's warm, you can see them flying around. When it's cold, they're going to be all hanging on a tree together, clumped together to help each other, to support each other with warmth, to support each other through the winter. So the inward transformation within us becomes the outer expression. The inward transformation of kindness and compassion, self-compassion, self-love, the inward transformation then becomes an outward experience to our spiritual community. What a wonderful metaphor, isn't it? What a beautiful imagery where we come together like monarch butterflies on our beauty, on our uniqueness, but we come together to support one another and to serve one another and to help each other go as we move through this experience. Spiritual community is like that. Spiritual community is when we have that spiritual transformation and we come together to support one another. Spiritual community is unity in life. And this is not theoretical. This is meant to be lived out in a supportive, loving, and inclusive community. Now, how would it feel? What would it look like to be a supportive, loving, inclusive community? It looks like this. Thank you, Lisa. What can we do? What can we do to be more supportive, inclusive, and loving? So first off, going within, what can I do to be more supportive, loving, and inclusive in the world? And then outward, how can I express that? And how can we come together as a more supportive, loving, and inclusive community? Spiritual community is being together for spiritual growth and support of one another. And we do that through authenticity, through compassion, and through commitment to each other. What can we do to express more authenticity, more compassion for one another, more commitment to one another? Spiritual community is about celebrating. It is celebrating our common humanity. Spiritual community is celebrating our diversity. And spiritual community is celebrating our oneness. We're one in the allness of life. And when it does get challenging, when we start to struggle, when we're worried or wondering why there's somebody walking around in the sanctuary. Caught you. When we're worried or wondering why somebody is doing the things that they're doing. Why did the courtyard get set up this way? Our cheese was moved. Someone moved my cheese. Cheese was one of the things that the caterpillar went through. Our cheese, change. The cheese of change. Can we move through that change with more ease and grace by using our spiritual practices? First inward, and then how can we come together as a community to be that change in the world? To be that harmony, to be that peace, to be that spiritual strength. As we develop our spiritual mindset internally, we then, as a community, develop a spiritual mindset. And we create and bring that to the world. That's the gift that we have to give to the world. What would your life be like if you went out into the world with a spiritual mindset? What would your life be like if you went out into the world, into your daily routine, into your jobs, into your experiences, into your relationships, with that sense of spiritual balance, grounded in faith, grounded in the oneness of the allness of life? The Rig Veda, a Vedic Sanskrit hymn, says this: "Let your aims be common, and your hearts be of one accord, and all of you be of one mind, as you may live well together." Let your aims be common. Let us be intentional about our spiritual practice. Let us be intentional about coming together as a spiritual community and about expressing this and learning to practice it here so that we can be that expression out into the world that the world so desperately needs. Would you agree? Let our hearts be of one accord, open to the allness of love, the agape love, that infinite flow of life, love, and wisdom. Love is like the energy of spirit, the harmonizing energy that flows through us, the healing energy that goes through every cell in our body, the prospering energy that leads us and expresses us and has us move towards our highest good. Let us be of one mind and let us live well together. We live well together when we live with these spiritual principles. As Lisa said at the beginning, that daily practice, you will change And you might notice other people will change around you because you are creating a new reality for yourself. Don't worry about the challenges. If you get stuck on the fig of forgiveness, that's okay. Move over to something different. Or get some spiritual coaching. Come together in a class. Come together with one another to talk about, what does forgiveness really mean? Give me a J fruit, quick. Can you make that J fruit for me? Jicama? If we're stuck on the jicama of jealousy, the jackroot of judgment, if we're stuck on these things, remember, we can let them go. We can change our diet. We can shift over to something new and start consuming something new so that we can grow and develop that spiritual strength and spiritual mindset. Yes? Now, there's sometimes when some challenges, if you ever notice, and this isn't in the book, by the way, but sometimes not all of those caterpillars get to be a butterfly. Is that right? Sometimes it feels like we're being picked off by the robins of resentment. Coming to get us. And we don't even get to that spiritual practice because we're so stuck. Sometimes we get so bogged down in our own lack and limitation that we can't see the rest of the fruit around us. We're just stuck in that. And when we're stuck, that's the perfect time for the spiritual practice of letting go. The spiritual practice of non-resistance. Yes, something's happening in the world, but I don't have to fight against it internally. It doesn't control me. I own my own energy. I own my own life energy. God is within me and everywhere present, and therefore I have the spiritual strength and faith to move through it with ease and grace, regardless of what it is. Spiritual community helps us establish, practice, and achieve a consciousness of unity. A consciousness of unity. We're not named unity by accident. Our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, were very specific about the name. This is a unity of consciousness, a oneness with the allness of life, a oneness with the allness of wisdom, with the allness of intelligence, with the allness of love. That loving presence is everywhere present, the word I like to call allness, and we're one with that. Let's move to our affirmation, Felix. I'm going to read our affirmation and then invite you to affirm it with me together. I am one with the allness of life, love, and wisdom. I am one in unity. Together, I am one with the allness of life, love, and wisdom. I am one in unity. And so it is. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, the author says, finally, all of you have unity of spirit, love for one another, a tender heart, and a humble mind. It is for this that you were created, that you shall inherit a blessing. Let us all have unity of spirit, love for one another, and a tender heart, and a humble mind. How would your life be different if you led from that saying? If you allowed that energy to flow in, through, and as you with ease and grace. Spiritual community is about establishing a conscious unity, a consciousness of unity. Together, we come together each Sunday to express and to see that in one another, to support one another, and to be that unique, beautiful butterfly that only you could be. Let's take that into our time of meditation and affirmative prayer.